I've been watching this John Mateer story. So John Mateer is the new quarterback at Oklahoma. By the way, he is the next savior, right? Because last year they had a freshman who was the savior, and he started 3 games and they ran him out of town. But John Mateer is the new savior of Oklahoma, right? Because Oklahoma football has not been nearly as good as they want to be over the past 4 years or so, 3-4 years since Caleb Williams left. And so the thought is that, when Lincoln Riley left and he took Caleb Williams with him, they've been searching for a quarterback, right? Because they had that incredible run, where you have like back to back just stud quarterbacks. And even before Caleb Williams, for 3 games, Spencer Rattler was the starter. He was the number 1 ranked prospect. Then he went to South Carolina. He's an NFL quarterback. He's okay. The bigger point is that Mateer he transferred in from Washington State, and he's got to be the dude. And Oklahoma, who's somehow ranked, right? And we talked about rankings yesterday, mean nothing. But they have gone out, spent a bunch of money, got a talented team, and now have a proven quarterback. He's good, and they brought his offensive coordinator with him, so there's no learning a new football language. And on paper, should be really good. So you wake up this morning to the gambling allegations. Mateer, potentially suspended. You're like, oh, man. What was he doing? So apparently somebody who wants to purport themselves as a reporter, but we don't actually know who it is because they're covered under the guise of social media, which is a bunch of crap, by the way. Right? This is the thing when they change the blue check mark. And you can go like, well, you just feel that way because you had a blue check mark. You still have a blue check mark. They gave me mine. I did not pay for mine. But it used to be like if you were somebody, like a reputable reporter, you got a blue check mark. Now anybody can get it. So what's the guy's name online who's purporting himself as a reporter, but there's no real person that exists under that name or for that network?
I believe it's Brian Aguada, I believe is how I say it, and he reported himself as Valley News Live, which there's no record of him apparently from the news outlet. They say they've never hired someone like that, and his profile pic is of like a hockey player from 5 years ago from Northeastern.
Yeah, so again, this is an internet troll. Happened to me with early this what year is it? Yeah, early this year, because it was, I think, this year. No, it was last year. We lost to Michigan Tech. And somebody acted like they were covering the WEAC. The WEAC is the Division III league in Wisconsin, which is a really good, it's probably the best Division III league in the country. That I called Michigan Tech Nobody You, which is the opposite of what I said. I said everybody we play is capable of beating us. I don't want to play Nobody You. And so again, somebody essentially took what I said, flipped it, and made it out like I said it about Michigan Tech. I was walking down the street in Traverse City, Michigan last week, and somebody yelled out, "No, Nobody You!" But this is where people suck. So John Mateer is, and I understand, this is something we're forever going to struggle with now, is when you did something dumb or you did something that young guys do 5-7 years ago and you're a college football player, what would people say? College kid. He's a college kid. Yeah, I used to do that in college. I did way worse in college. You name the guy who's done something. Johnny Manziel was running wild. And people are like, wow, he's just a college kid, just a party boy. People made excuses for it. Right? Now, because these quarterbacks are making 7 figures, and frankly, because people are able to legally bet on these games, and because of transfer portal, NIL, whatever, the professionalization of an amateur sport, we treat people differently. I said that about Spencer Rattler. You guys, I don't know, we all worked together at the time. I know Profet, we did not. Ryan, we didn't, and I'm not sure about Isla. We've worked together on and off for all 8 years I've been here. But at the time, when Spencer Rattler was the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, and he got lustily booed at home in like his second game. I'm telling you, that was the moment where you realized college sports had changed to professional sports, where college students feel emboldened to boo. And they weren't necessarily mad that he sucked. There's a little bit about it, but it was more, he had the appearance of being arrogant. He had the earrings and the whole look. People knew who he was from the reality show. And he was costing them money because they could all gamble on games. So here's what somebody did that we don't know who it is. They went and looked at his Venmo account and found that he had 2 different times in which he had sent Venmos to somebody else. One time it said sports betting, was it USC versus UCLA? And the other one it said sports betting. And you're like, aha, got him. So here's what John Mateer said. Tell me if you guys buy this. Okay. The allegations that I once participated in sports gambling are false. My previous Venmo descriptions did not accurately portray the transaction in questions, but were instead inside jokes between me and my friends. I have never bet on sports. I understand the seriousness of the matter, but recognize that, taken out of context, those Venmo descriptions suggest otherwise. I can assure my teammates, coaches, and officials at the NCAA that I have not engaged in any sports gambling. And I believe him. I believe him. We'll talk about this a little bit in the podcast, but I have that same sort of sense of humor with my friends where, whether it's coffee or my daughter, Harper, runs on coffee and Red Bull. And so I guarantee if my Venmo is made public, which, by the way, I think that may be the lesson here is like, don't make your Venmo public. But if my Venmo was public, you'd see crack on there. And you're like, wait, you're sending her money for crack? I was like, no, she was getting money for Red Bull and coffee. So that's her crack. So that's like trying to be funny. Makes sense, right? I think like that's kind of become common speech. If something's really good, it's like crack. It's so addictive. Yes. Are we all nodding our heads? Profet?
Yeah, I have a friend back in Detroit who is Indian, and the kind of jokes he makes towards me on Venmo. If though I make sure to delete them all the time, because if anyone saw a single one of them, some of them are foul. Some of them are just absolutely foul. But that's just how we talk to each other.
Well, but that's how you talk to each other. Why do you have to delete them?
Because I don't if they're private, sure, I like the joke. But if they're public, it's exactly that thing. Everyone can see it. And that's like, okay, well, I'm terrified of someone asking me about that at some point.
Ryan B?
My friend and I on Venmo used to, because Venmo didn't have any character limits, so we would copy and paste like song lyrics to entire songs and use them as our descriptions on Venmo. So like if somebody were to look at Venmo, they'd see the entirety of like, this is how we do it, just like sitting there on their Venmo. Like we do stuff like that where we're just messing with each other like crazy, because it's not a serious social media platform. So yeah, I totally believe that this dude was just messing around and just made the wrong joke basically.
Yeah. I mean, I actually should pull up my Venmo and see what I've sent to people. But yeah. I've also done and mine's not public, I don't think. Now, Profet, you said sometimes it'll pop public for no reason?
So I think the default is when you send something to someone, maybe there's a setting I'm missing, but every time I go to start a transaction.
There's lots of things you're missing.
That is very true. That is extremely true. But it always starts, when you start the transaction blind, it'll just set the status to public. And so you've got to make sure before you exit out of it, before you send it, to switch it to private or unlisted or whatever.
Hey, guys, as someone who has never, ever used Venmo unless absolutely forced to, what exactly is Venmo's rationale for making any of their transactions public in the first place? I'm not seeing the benefit to their business or towards society here. I think it would just be a setup for trouble like this.
I feel like that's just that was always their angle, is this is also social media. They kind of came up in that era where everything had to have a social media element attached to it, whereas Cash App, I don't think they have anything like that.
That's interesting. Okay.
You're not a Venmo guy?
No, unless forced to. If we encounter somebody who only uses Venmo, I guess I'll have my wife do it. I kind of know how to do Zelle, but I'm even freaked out at that. But that's a really interesting rationale towards how the current generation just errs on the side of oversharing and sharing instead of not sharing.
The irony, too, is like Venmo is not a serious social media site, but if your information was hacked on Venmo, that's the most serious thing that could happen to you.
I think Zelle would be the most.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's true.
Zelle's
And
like right into your.
yeah.
that happened to my parents. Yeah, their Zelle actually got hacked, and that was that was bad. Luckily, everything's fine. But yeah, scary for sure.
Okay, I just want to make how do privacy, right? It's in privacy. I just want to make sure mine's private. So, you can do a lot of things, but I've sent the, I've nothing that would be, I don't curse or whatever.
I just
But I do think there was a time in which I like there's one I have a lady who cleans for me, right? I don't necessarily want that known, nor do I want it known that she cleans for me. I don't know, right? Because then somebody who had like real money could potentially go like, "What's in his house?"
Right.
I just checked my
Stuff.
Venmo and
Lots of stuff.
the last
Is
transaction.
he a slob? Yeah, but then I like a slob. Dogs kind of make a mess, that kind of thing. I love the story because it's classic. You can take anything out of context and make it into something. It's also a sign. Again, I don't know if you guys. Here's the political one, which was it yesterday that President Trump said he's going to send federal troops into D.C. Right, and this is there's a terrible story about a carjacking in D.C. Right, and like I get it. I mean, carjacking is serious stuff, and inner cities can be tough places, especially there's bad neighborhoods in any city that you're in. There's people that you don't necessarily want to hang with, but like then that's like the arbitrary one story made into being this big narrative. Whereas apparently, again, and I don't know, I haven't been to D.C. in a couple years. Apparently, the crime's like way down. So I don't know, but this is like what we do. We take things and we take a story and something we twist it kind of out of context, which makes people hate the media. It does, but it's not the media creating this one. This is some Bill Johnson, XYZ, whatever, fake hockey player, old picture guy who's a troll who screenshotted, a college kid. Granted, he's a well-compensated college kid, but he's a college kid's Venmo account and makes him out to be a sports gambler. I think there are college kids dumb enough to put sports betting on their Venmo account when they're betting on sports? Yes. Do I think they're quarterbacks in college football? No, I don't. There's a general IQ that'd be somebody if they were actually betting on sports. But this feels like a nothing burger, and we'll just have to see how it plays out.